there's a sound. You can hear some traffic. There's leaves stirring. There's a sound of a voice, and there's always just what's appearing to happen. But in that, then it appears that people add themselves to what's appearing to happen. They've a really felt feeling that there's things are really happening, and there's a separate them that they're happening to. And it is an illumination of the artificial nature of that separation, that it's an illusion, you could say. It's an appearance, it's a story, and that can just be seen. And it's when that is seen, then it's not describable. It's totally ordinary and obvious. And it's a wild adventure then in the unknown for nobody. For the individual, the apparent individual, there's not just what's appearing to happen. There's something happening, and there's a person, there's a them that it's happening to, and me. So there's a sense of separation. So there's life, and there's me with my life. And when I have a life, other people have a life as well. And everything is happening in time and space in a causal reality, one thing after another, and then another, and then another. And there's a lived sense of feeling that I'm moving through time into the future, and that I'm in a thing called the present or the moment, and I have a past, and that things have happened to me in my life and to other people around me that make up the story or the narrative of my life. So everyone as an individual is this woven fabric of a narrative of me, which is different for everybody, which is added to and taken away from, and sometimes has a kind of core theme to it, or some kind of core pillars to it. This is my job. I'm an IT technician, or I'm a solicitor, I'm a football player, I'm whatever, and this is what I do, and this is the main part of my identity, or some passion that I have, or whatever. And what's not really considered much at all is that there's nobody there, and there's nothing there, there's no thing there, because we're just totally, that sense of being separate individual with choice is continually just reinforced, and it's the accepted reality. So everyone knows this. This is the way it is. It's to suggest anything else would be ludicrous. So we're in for some ludicrousness this morning, because this is the suggestion that's been made from nothing here. A very simple, ordinary suggestion that actually there's just what's appearing to happen. There's just aliveness, there's just energy, and that sense of being, that lived reality of being a separate you, which feels like a lived reality, is a story, is artificial. It's an overlay, it's an energetic, an apparent contraction in which you feel like there's a world outside you,
and that there's you in your world, and there's things then happening to you, and so on, and you relate to others and all of this, and that feels absolutely real. And when there is that, there's a question, and there's something seems to be missing, and the question, the individual thinks the question has an answer because they live in the known. So there has to be some answer to this question I have, and maybe someday I'll get it. And they get lots of answers from lots of different people, and some of them resonate and others don't. And they feel like they're approaching some kind of truth, their true nature, or whatever it may be. And what's being suggested is there is no answer, because there's actually not even a question, because you're already just nothing being everything, energy. There is no separate you there. So we'll see what happens this morning. Apparently, as I always say, it's just there to be asked if there's a question. And this is not about, there's nothing on offer here. There's nobody being spoken to. There's nothing to get. There's nothing to know. And this is all just energetic.
Hi, Kenneth.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Stephen.
Very good, man. A bit of a pointless one for you. Does nothing have to soak in for nothing to be realized?
What I would hear that as soaking in would be like an understanding. Is it that soak in as in
But there's nothing to understand per se.
Yeah.
It's more so the realization of nothing, truly, honestly, for no one.
It's not a soaking in then, really. No. What I hear as a soaking in is kind of, digesting that and getting used to it or whatever. It's always a sudden scene. Whether that sudden scene appears to be a gradual, it could appear to be kind of glimpses and glimpses, but what's being spoken of is timeless. So it's not any kind of process in time,
It feels kind of pointless asking again, but
everything is totally pointless, so you don't have to qualify. This is gorgeous, because this is what's being shared, right?
Yeah.
Everything is nothing, nothing is everything. There's absolutely no point to anything, because it just is as it appears. It doesn't need a meaning, any kind of meaning at all. And we put some sort of meaning on it, or we find a point to everything, because we feel we're moving towards something. So everything has to have some sort of point or significance or meaning. So everything is nothing. It's just simply as it appears to be. It doesn't need anybody's meaning. But you go ahead. I interrupted you too. I was just making that point. You were saying the second thing was.
I lost it. If it comes back to me, I'll
jump in and say it, Joe. I rudely interrupted you there to tell you there was no meaning or no point to anything. But like, I mean, it does, like, it's honestly, if there's something that it doesn't matter, like, we're as long as it's on the topic we're sharing, it's there to be asked. It really is. You can't go right or wrong.
Because it's confusing.
Terribly.
It's terribly confusing, and there's a grasping, and it's a grasping of absolutely nothing. There's nothing to grasp, and there's no one to grasp.
Yeah.
So it's like just leaving that play, even though there's no one to leave it play. It's as if it's just
Yeah. Yeah. There's only what appears to happen, right? So then when this is shared, it can be totally bamboozling. It could be
yeah,
complete confusion. And what's being suggested is there's only energy, there's only what appears to be happening. And if confusion is happening, that's what's appearing to happen. So
yeah,
confusion is just energy. It doesn't
yeah,
mean anything. It's for the individual, the apparent individual, who is dualism. That's what the person is. It's confusion is bad and clarity is good. So there's a sense of wanting to move towards clarity. So one thing isn't it, and another thing is it, and this is the
yeah,
play of opposites that the person lives. It is that play of opposites, and simply what's being shared is that whatever appears to arise is it, which the individual does not like that at all, because it doesn't like confusion. It finds it uncomfortable, and so it's not confusion, like, because you're suggesting something and it sounds like this, so it has to be more in tune with my idea of what you're suggesting. And anybody's
yeah.
idea of what's being suggested here is rubbish. It doesn't matter, because it cannot be held as an idea. It's just an idea, that's all it is. So there's a pointing towards the immediacy of whatever appears to be. And if that's confusion, then confusion is it.
Thank you.
Thanks. There can be clarity, just suddenly clarity in this, around what's being pointed towards, what's being suggested, and it doesn't matter, actually. It's gorgeous. It doesn't matter at all. Like, someone could feel to be just totally clear, and really just crystal clear what's being shared, that there's no me, whatever. It does not matter at all. This is about a lived sense of feeling separate, which is an energetic sense of contracted sense of feeling separate. And so this is about a resonance, and that sense of feeling separate can appear to collapse. And that's nothing to do with clarity or confusion or knowing in any way. Hi, Katrina.
Hi, Kenneth.
Oh, yeah.
So the way I feel reality as a separate, feeling separate, I feel that what appears matters, okay, because it has meaning. So all the appearance for me matters.
Of course it does. Yeah.
And even though I know I don't exist, intellectually, I still want to go ahead and change things and do things and whatever in that bubble. So for you, I mean, when I say you, I mean you without you. Does appearance really not matter at all? Whatever comes up, comes up. Is there no
it's the
inclination to change anything, or?
It's just the scene that there's just what appears to be happening. There's just what appears to be happening. That's all. So when there's no longer a sense of being a separate individual, there's just a play of light, and whatever you could say, it's all energetic. It's just and it's nothing appearing to happen. So the realness collapses out of everything, because you were the realness. The realness was the subject to which everything was an object, a real object. States, experiences, people, trees, rocks, ideas, everything is an object to your subject. So when the subject feels no longer, there's no object. So there's just the appearance of things happening, and anything, whatever appears to arise, is just simply what's appearing to happen. So the car, looks like the tires are worn. So there's a thought, okay, I need to get the car serviced by a mechanic. And there's a phoning the mechanic, and they're saying, have you got a slot? And there's, the car is booked in. To the person, it would feel like I've identified something, and I'm going to plan to change that situation, which things are not right with the car, and there's an ownership of everything. So there's a sense that I had the realization that the car isn't winter ready and needs an oil service and needs everything. So it was me that spotted that. And if I didn't phone the mechanic and take action and plan, none of it would have happened. I'm obviously randomly picking just an example because the cars out there, and I don't even know if it's winter ready. So so then that's what I'm saying, is the person says the individual adds themselves to everything always. And so what would feel like a planned action from identifying a need and then arriving, a week later with all of those boxes ticked, it feels very real for the person, because it feels like they did it and they took the action which had a result, and it's undeniable for the individual. That's the way it is. None of this would have happened without me. And the incredible scene, it's stunning, is there's no you there. There's no individual there at all. And there never has been. So there's just all of that stuff I described, just what appeared to happen.
In other words, things are happening on their own. The body mind is happening on its own anyway.
This is energy, and energy is nothing appearing to happen. Yeah.
Happening on its own, and then something goes and says, "This is me."
It adds itself.
This body is mine. Whereas everything is just happening anyway. So whether the thought came in your brain to change the car tires or not, that would just have happened or not happened.
Yeah. So you there's just speaking there. You didn't do anything there, because there's no you to do anything.
Exist. Yeah. Okay.
There's just, well, you keep saying I say you don't exist, and I never say that ever. I've never said that in however many years I've been talking. Funny, because people hear that all the time. Kenneth, you say I don't exist. I've never ever said that. So what I'm saying is that you're an appearance. You're an appearance. The individual is an appearance.
It's not an illusion. It's an appearance.
It's an appearance. It just appears. It's an appearance. Time, just like time, right? I don't say time doesn't exist, because like to say that would be like it wouldn't. Like we logged on at 9 o'clock, and Kenneth was a little bit tardy, so it was 7 or 8 minutes past 9. And the person feels that's real. There's a real thing called 9 o'clock. And what's Kenneth is suggesting, or what's being suggested here, is that it's an appearance. It's real and unreal. But you're not, the unreal part isn't being seen here at all. So when you say things don't exist, it's just what I feel happens is the individual just is that play of opposites. So it lives in the real. So then an easy thing in the play of opposites is to just switch to the other one. So everything is just unreal then. And then logically, because the mind kind of moves in opposites, it can kind of hold that as a reality and entertain that reality then, that everything is just unreal. Everything is completely unreal. Nothing exists. So all that's doing really is switching from something to nothing and making something out of nothing. And it's still in the play of opposites. When everything is and isn't, it's completely beyond the mind. The mind can't go anywhere with that. That's why everything being and not being real and unreal, the individual does not like that at all, because it just can't get a hold of that, because it's so accustomed to this. So that's why people frequently say, Kenneth, you're saying I don't exist. I said I never said that.
So probably it's just the people that are still using that. We have a sense of a lived sense of separation, and then we go to the other pole and say, okay, I don't exist.
Yeah. Some people. So there's a sharing here, right? And it's sharing incredibly to nobody. It's gorgeous. It's just boundless sharing. So there's no sense here of there's no people on the Zoom at all. And then And then then people speak, and then some people from when they're speaking, they report themselves to be an individual, or they say, or it's obvious from the way they're speaking that they're an individual.
Yeah.
That they think they're an individual. And that's all that appears. There's already no individual. There's no individual there. There's no individual anywhere.
It must be wonderful to be like that. It must be really wonderful.
It's not anything. It's just you see, thinking it's wonderful is no words can describe it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no words can describe it, but it's beyond that dualism of good and bad, and it's not describable. Like nobody has ever been able to describe what it's like to not be an individual. And then when you say that, the individual then would feel that it's this wonderful thing, and they make an idea out of it, and then it becomes another goal. Well, I'd like to not be there, so they want to not be there. They want to not be there. It's the individual wants to not experience not being there,
even though they're not there already, in that sense.
well, the individual, yeah, it's just energy appearing as an individual. So it's like the analogies, as a lot of people have written, is it's like winning the lottery, but there's nobody to claim the prize. But the individual wants to win the lottery of liberation and not being an individual, and then be there to experience it too.
Okay.
Of course, this is not like any idea that you have of what's being shared. It's not that. It's not an idea or a concept. It's unknowable, unobtainable, and inescapable. It's very, very, very ordinary. Like even the sentence saying it's very ordinary comes nowhere. It's just impossible to describe how ordinary and obvious it is. It's simply just aliveness.
Okay. And obviously, just trying not to grasp what is happening through the body and the mind, and that wouldn't be a good idea, because it's still me trying to get rid of me.
It wouldn't be a good idea or a bad idea. It would just be an idea. That's all.
Okay, last time we talked, my idea was was a bad idea.
No, that's what you heard. That's what you interpreted that I said. It would just be what's appearing to happen. But what was illuminated is who would do that. That's what the point was. So who would do that? Who would just let things appear to happen then? So there's a sense there that okay, so there's just so what I should do is just sit back, and I should just let things happen then.
Yeah, to make it smaller.
That's another thing that the individual would do. And what's been illuminated is that there's nothing that it's not about you doing or not doing. It's that there's no you to do or not do. So it's not that, and that's another mishearing or misinterpretation, is people think, very, very common to hear people say, so you're saying there's nothing I can do. And that's not what's been said at all, because if it's much different to that, probably much worse, because it's that there's no you to do or not do.
Okay, so it's just the mind trying to help me out, producing more ideas to give the
it's just what's appeared to happen.
It's just what is appearing to happen.
It's just what's appearing to happen. It has no significance.
Try this. Okay.
Yeah, it's no significance. So this is an is a resonance energetically, and this what's been shared can be heard. And there's no interest here in the blah 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 of the mind at all. It's of no interest. So maybe that appears to happen, or maybe I could do this, maybe I could do that, or some other ideas that the apparent individual has, or maybe not. But there's no interest here in that at all, because all of that is just it's just a play of light, and there's already no individual.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. If there's no individual self, then would you say there is no universal self either? You may not feel sense of universal self if you're honest about it, whereas we do seem to feel an individual identity. Okay, so I'll just go back. There's kind of two parts to that, is there? So if there's no individual self, then would you say there's no universal self? Yes, obviously. So there's no separation. There's no separate anything. There's just energy, which is nothing appearing as everything. So there's no higher self, lower self, universal self, personal self, any kind of self. There's the appearance of that. Okay, yeah, I'm not really sure about the rest of that. That's my answer to that. If nothingness is nothingness a subject and everything else are objects, is nothingness a subject and everything else are objects? I would say so. There like the person, the individual lives in dualism, so they feel like a separate individual, and that's the subject. And when I say subject, that's what I mean is that center of the universe called me. The center of the universe called me is the subject. There's only one. There can only be one. And then everything is an object then to that subject, even though those objects are in a hierarchy of importance. There's a rock and there's a human being. One is infinitely more important than the other. So there's all of this, but they're all actually essentially objects to your subject. So what's being suggested is that subject is actually just an appearance, and energetically that can just appear to collapse, and then it's seen it was never there, and there's no separate entities. Nothing exists in and of itself. It's just energy appearing as that. And this is what is referred to as liberation, which is a word for something that appears to happen. It's only an appearance because nothing actually happens. There is no such thing as liberation, awakening, enlightenment, anything like that, because there's already simply unconditional love, just what's appearing to happen. And in that, there arises a sense of separation, an apparent sense of separation. And someone else asks, are we talking about acting without intention? No, we're not at all. Acting without neither a good intention or a bad intention. No, we're going deeper than that. What's being suggested is there is no separate individual. So there's no actor, actually. So there's no individual who acts in a good or a bad way, and a good way and a bad way are all just an appearance in the story of the me. So it doesn't matter if having a good intention or a bad intention is just within the story of separation. It doesn't matter. Hi, Oyvind.
Hi, Kenneth.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for holding the meeting. My mind is spinning on, you said you don't say, you never say you don't exist.
Yeah.
And then you said you don't see any persons when you look on the screen, and you said there is no individual, and I can't get out of that. I seem to go back and forth on that, like there is no, you don't exist, and you never say you don't exist, but you also say.
Yeah. So I'm differentiating. So for me, saying that you don't exist is very much just it feels like just the opposite of you are is there's you don't exist feels like just going from flipping over the real to the unreal. So that's why I differentiate that between and what I mean is that there's the appearance of you. It's an appearance. That's what I mean. And everything, like what we take to be real in the story, right? So that's why I go to time and space. Space is the same thing. Like it appears that there's however many miles between Ireland and Iceland, and that's what's being suggested. It's not that that doesn't exist. It's that it's there's X amount of miles, but that's a measurement in the story, in that reality of being separate. And that reality of being separate is an appearance. That's what's being said. So that's why I find it confusing. It's a confusing way to talk, to say that you don't exist.
Yes.
For me, and that's why everyone hears it, even though those words aren't said. That's what people hear. It's very common. Everyone thinks that you are saying continually that I'm saying you don't exist. And it's totally understandable, because the individual is that play of opposites. So if I'm going from I am completely real, then it's the mind will just flip it around. So everything is, it's nothing, it's just non-existence. So I don't exist. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
It's very difficult to explain. It's impossible to explain, but that's the essence of it. The language is used to try to is exposing that dualism of play of opposites, and the individual wants to stay within that and interprets what's said as, it's easy just to flip it over and go from and some religions do this as well, and some spiritual practices do this. Everything is Maya, everything is an illusion. So, and I've spoken to some of these people, and for me, it feels that's all they've done, really. If it's a play of opposites, then switching from everything being real to everything being unreal, it doesn't matter. It's not going to make any. It's just it's still ding 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 ding.
Yeah.
Whereas everything is nothing and nothing is everything. Like that, even just listen to that. Like that is not graspable at all. Like it's just, it nullifies the mind in that sense. You can't go anywhere with that.
Yeah.
And I mean, we are. It is a little bit semantics, I'm not really I don't mean to be picking. Like someone could say you don't exist, and they could really mean, well, I'm an appearance or whatever. So it's not about everyone. It's just trying to illuminate the point a bit clearer. There's no right or wrong with it.
Thanks.
Are we talking about the actions that cannot be avoided by the me? I don't really understand that question. Are we talking about the actions that cannot be avoided by the me? We're talking, what's being shared is that there is nobody taking action. as opposed to the sense that there's an individual who is taking action, making decisions, doing, not doing. That's the illumination, essentially. There's just what's appearing to happen, as opposed to me, who has a life and is taking action in life. That's the differentiation. And that feels, when that feels real, that I'm a person, I'm an individual who has the ability to make choices and take action and bring about results, that feels real, totally real. That's a lived reality. And this is the illumination that it's an appearance, that there's nobody in there to make a decision or do anything or not do anything, and that sense of being separate is an artificial addition. So you're continually adding yourself. So if I felt like a person now, an individual, I would feel then there would be an artificial addition to what appears to happen, and that artificial addition would be that I'm speaking. So there would be a lived sense that I'm speaking now, if I was an individual. If there was the sense of feeling like an individual, equally sitting on the chair, it wouldn't just be sitting on the chair. It would be, I would feel that I'm sitting on the chair, and so on through everything. And what's being shared is that that's a story. There never has been a separate individual, and that actually, when you do feel separate, this is the big one. Da, 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 da. When you do feel like an individual, what you're yearning for, or what, not you as in the individual, because the individual is just being an individual, what's being yearned for is just what's appearing to happen. Boom. That's it. It's very simple. It's very ordinary. And that's why it's continually missed in favor of something that's special and extraordinary and around the next corner. And someday I'll get there, and I'm getting there increment. I'm getting closer, maybe. And what was just said there, and what's been said this morning, can just resonate. And if it resonates, that sense of being separate can just not be there, possibly. Or it could be that sense of being separate could come away stronger, and you could feel more of a person, possibly. And that's why there's no agenda here. There's no goal here, because there already is no individual. And if you don't feel like an individual, that's just what's appearing to happen. And if you do feel more of an individual, that's also just what's appearing to happen. Hi, Kenneth. It seems there's energy being attracted to this message, and energy wanting to maintain the mean. Same thing, or yeah. So it ultimately it is the same, as in there's just energy. So there's only oneness. There's only energy. So the oneness or wholeness appears to be an individual. So it's not that there's two separate energies. One is wholeness and the other is a me energy. And this is the way the person might understand it or think about it, because that's that play of opposites. There's just energy, which is nothing being everything. It's just what's appearing to happen, and in that appears that sense of separateness, separation, or whatever. And with this communication, there's a resonance. There may be a resonance with it, because it's completely known already, because you already are what's being yearned for. It's totally known. What's being shared here is totally known, completely, totally, and utterly known in every cell. It's just so obvious that there's just this, and that can resonate. And at the same time to that, then, that sense of being an individual. Now it appears as two separate energies, but there's only just energy. At the same time, then can be this sense of being a separate individual who actually can't hear what's being said here, but it wants to know it, wants to have this, wants to process this, wants to get somewhere with it, but really just doesn't want anything to do with this, because all that's being attempted is to reject what's being said by turning it into something. And so that you have different ways of rejecting what's being suggested here. One would be to just shut down the Zoom and not listen to this. That's a very obvious one. Another would be to listen to it and process it in a way that it's something else. And that's also a clever way, because it might be akin to other things the individual has in their belief system, or their some sort of paradigm of the way the world is, or some sort of sense of ideas about wholeness or oneness, or maybe some spiritual kind of concepts. And then those are definitely, the individual loves kind of changing this then into, oh, this is the same as all this other. So that's a clever way to not hear it. But it doesn't matter what the individual hears or doesn't hear, because the individual isn't being spoken to, because it's only an appearance. The individual cannot hear this. The individual can just be an individual. It's a closed loop, and it's all artificial.
Hey, Kenneth.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, how is your Xenos going?
Oh, it's okay. It is
Cool.
what it is.
Can you repeat that? You just some seconds ago said something like, when the sense of individual is there, then there is a yearning for what appears to be happening.
So yeah, when there is a sense of separation,
Yeah.
a sense of being a separate individual, there's a yearning. The individual feels that yearning is to get something, because they live in the real, and they live in that whole energy of being an individual is pulling in something. And when I say that, I mean pulling in experiences, knowledge, states, everything. It's always this gain. It's just this, it's a black hole. And so logically, then in anything that would appear to be missing, logically, the individual would feel that, okay, I feel unwhole. Maybe there's this thing called oneness. And if I get this thing called oneness or wholeness, to get it, I need to just get that final piece of the jigsaw, and then I'll be wholeness then. So I'll do that through, there's other people who seem to have a lot of knowledge about this, and they are enlightened, they are liberated, and they got there by doing A, B, and C. So if I do A, B, and C, then I'll get to where they are. Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then that's the way it all, like, that's totally logical, because the individual is a process of progressive endeavor towards something always. So they feel that there's something that they can get. So that could be a state or an experience or whatever. And what's being shared or suggested is that that's only within the dream of separation, and that actually what's yearned for would be an apparent loss, not a gain at all. And the apparent loss, and apparent is very important in that sentence, because it's that sense of being separate is artificial anyway. And that therefore what's yearned for is simply what appears to be happening already. So it's simply already the case that there's wholeness, but the individual continually rejects it in favor of a model of what they think is wholeness. Does that make sense?
Well,
Not that it has to make sense.
no,
but-
no, yeah. It's a bit as if you are describing a symptom. It sounds a bit. It's like a description of a symptom. Yeah,
Symptom.
yeah. Like. Anyways, and another question. This word
I don't really get the
appearing.
symptom. What do you mean a
Oh,
symptom?
oh, it's not important. Anyways, and when you say appear, it's an appear because you just said the word in the sentence, the word appearing, apparent is
Yeah.
very important. But to what fucking what then is it appearing? There must be some.
Nothing.
Nothing cannot be nothing because there needs to be some form of.
For the person, it feels that nothing can, that there's something there. So it can't just be it can't just be that there's nothing, there's just energy. And that in that is appears the sense of separation. There has to be something. When I feel like somebody, something, there has to be something. Of course there does, yeah. This is no thing being everything.
The funny thing is that I still believe that this is a very terribly important conversation.
Yeah.
And whether I can trust what Kenneth is saying or not, and I know that this is not relevant if that I'm not asked to be trust or not trust and all, but it's really interesting what all is like provoked when like here. Yeah.
Yeah, because probably every time we've spoken, that's been said, is that you're not being asked to believe this, or you're not being asked to trust this, or there's nothing being asked of anybody here. So like if somebody believes this, I mean that's totally useless. I mean, why would you believe anything? Don't believe anything. Don't believe anything. That why? Like if someone comes away with believing what's said here, then someone has an idea then, and they believe it. It's this is beyond knowing. This is not about believing or not believing. This is beyond concept. So,
Yeah,
it's just
and
what's appearing to
still
happen.
for
It's
me
just
it's
energy.
so yeah, but still it's somehow very interesting, like because I don't know many people in my life with whom I can even like converse like that. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's different to the
and I don't say
average
that it's better.
conversation.
Yeah,
It's different. Like most conversations are start off on the premise that you're a separate individual with a life. There's life and you have a life, and they're speaking to you with your life or what you can do with your life. There's
exactly.
very few communications that illuminate that there's only aliveness, and that there's no separate you with anything. There never has been. And there's certainly fewer again that offer nothing whatsoever, and that are completely uncompromising. There's a boundlessness to that. Then there's a, and
And
it
would
just
you,
is what it is.
yeah, that's like the evergreen. And would you say that this interest for this kind of communication can only appear to be happening because of a sense of separation? Like if, oh, I don't know. Yeah, like someone who like that this is like, I mean, yeah. Do you understand my question? Or is it
I
too
don't know, like
crazy?
it's there's just either a resonance with this or an interest in it, or there isn't, and it doesn't matter. None of it matters, because any of that meaning is just for the, like there could be a sense of that sense of being an individual can appear to collapse, and there's no interest in this. There's no interest at all, none whatsoever. I've seen it appear to happen, and there's people who just they would never want any kind of draw to log into any kind of Zoom or read anything falling under non-duality, but they don't feel like a person anymore, and that's just what's appearing to happen. So there's just there's no way of telling. And this is a sharing from nothing that is heard as it's heard. It's either this is mostly rejected, and that's what appears to happen.
Thanks.
Thanks. Oh, it's gone again. Wholeness seems to be used here to mean not to. Would you say nobody knows or gets wholeness? That's exactly what I've been saying, that it is impossible to get wholeness, to know wholeness. This is about unknowing. This is totally beyond knowing. There is nobody who is liberated ever. It is impossible. There is appears a sense of separation, and then that sense of separation can appear to then not be there. And then thereafter, there is no thereafter, but it's just that there's just what's appearing to happen. And there's not a sense of living in the known anymore, because living in the known was living as a separate. Living in the known requires separation. It requires there to be life and me with my life. And in that sense of separation, in that gap, is things that are knowable. There's an abstraction of knowledge from what appears to happen. Things just aren't as they appear. They're known then. So there's a second-handness to it. And the individual lives in that known and feels that it's absolutely, life is absolutely knowable, and we know so much now, and we're even going to know more now. And all that's happening is we're living in the loop of our knowing, in an apparent reality where things are knowable. And in that interface, that apparent interface, things seem to be knowable, and that's the way it is. And then if that sense of separation appears to fall away, it's seen that all of that is a story, and everything is nothing, nothing is everything. So it's all a play of light that's unknowable. And then everything is new. Everything is new because it's not in that causal reality of one thing happening after another, sequentially, moving in time and space. That's all an appearance. And this is always new and unknowable and unattainable and inescapable. Thanks, guys. Lovely to see you.
Thanks, Kenneth.
Thank you, Kenneth.
Thank you, Kenneth.
Thanks, Kenneth.
Thank you,
Thank
Kenneth.
Guys.
Thanks, Kenneth.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
A suggestion that all there is what's appearing to happen. So there's energy, aliveness, and that sense that there's a you that is alive. So that there's a you that has a life, that's a story. So it's an illumination, you could say, that all there is energy appearing as tree, Kenneth, grass, sound, but that in that aliveness, there's a sense that there's a really felt sense that there's me or an individual, that things are happening to. And when there is that sense, there's a yearning, there's a sense of dissatisfaction with that perception, subject, object. Everything is really not seen as it actually is. It's seen as an object or a thing. And that's what the meetings are about. That's the sharing is an illumination that actually that's a story. It's an appearance that there's a world out there and a you in here. It feels that way, but it's a story. And actually, there's only what's appearing to happen. And what's yearned for when you feel that way, when you feel separate, is actually just what's appearing to happen. Just whatever's appearing to happen.
How would you describe these meetings? I know there's a passion for them, but how would you describe them?
There's a sense of boundlessness to them that people are intrigued by, because they're seen as being not a person, an individual. They're seen as being just energy, unconditional love. That can be picked up on very quickly. They're not being spoken to as they normally would, as an individual who has choice and can do something to get somewhere. It's very clearly being illuminated that there is no where to get to, there is no one to get there, and there's just what's appearing to happen. So they're indescribable in that sense. They're totally boundless, and nothing to do with anybody, nothing to do with Kenneth or anybody who's attending them. But they're, yeah.
Meeting this weekend? Is that right?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm doing the residential Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, down in Ennistymon, County Clare. So people are coming for the 4 days, and then some people are joining for the weekend, and people can join by Zoom as well. So
okay, and you can sign up online. Where is that? How do I do that?
Just on my website, on the meetings section.
Okay.
And all the links are there.
And